Total Fuckery Podcast. No cucks, all fucks.
Yes! Yes! That's perfect! That is perfect. You gotta do
Holy
that,
fuck. What did you say?
Let me move Sean here before we get this going.
Oh, Trevor, that's gold right there.
So the Total Fuckery Podcast. No cucks, all fucks.
You know how hard it's gonna be not to laugh when Tanner says that? Fuck, I'm gonna probably laugh anyways.
Holy shit. Okay. You ready, boys? You said no
I'm ready.
cucks, all fucks, right?
Yes, no cucks, all fucks.
Ready, Morgan?
Yeah, I'm good.
Hayden, you're a robot. Speak.
Am I still a robot?
A little bit.
Why am I a robot? Nothing's on the internet here.
Okay. I'm scared.
It'll fix itself.
I can't say that with a straight face.
You don't have
I
to.
can't
No one's
say that.
gonna face anyway.
Okay. I'm scared.
Why?
Alright, 3, 2, 1. Cameras rolling. Now? I can't do it.
No, my.
Then say something else. Fuck. Get Trevor to say it.
Trevor said it was funny when Trevor said it because that came out of fucking
And
nowhere.
then you fucking introduce everyone.
No, I'll do it. Okay. Welcome to the Total Fuckery Podcast. No cucks, all fucks. That's still funny. That's still funny.
He's trying so fucking hard.
I'm trying not to laugh. I'm trying not to laugh. All right, introduce yourself,
Oh,
fuckers. Who was okay? No one. All right, no one goes. Did you say boater?
I said I'm Purpleboater. Fucked up, okay?
What do you do?
AKA Trevor. I stream Twitch, that's pretty much it.
What else you do?
I fucking don't do anything.
All right, you're next, Superman.
Me?
Yeah.
I'm Sicklyriddler, aka Crystal Barrett, aka Hayden.
And what did you bring to the class today?
I'm your resident serial killer expert.
All right, Fatty, you're next.
It's MoZone 91 Gaming. Unsub from Bionicspine on YouTube and follow MoZone 91 Gaming on Twitch.
I heard you smiling when you said that.
You're so fat here, you smile.
And I'm your host with the smallest peen.
That is true. I've seen it. He's my brother.
Awkward silence. Okay. Well, what are you doing today, boys?
We are talking about serial killers.
Wow. That's cool.
Light, dark, and everything in between.
Little disclaimer, it's gonna get real dark real quick.
Wait,
What?
we're talking about serial
Fuck!
killers?
Yeah.
I thought we were talking about killer cereals, dude.
Trevor, that joke needs to
I
die.
had
Trevor, that joke needs to die.
I
Maybe
think
you
that
need to go
joke-
with it, but we'll allow it for now.
No,
that
I'm not
joke
gonna
might
say
not make the edit.
that. Yeah.
Good time.
Well,
Good times, man. Good times.
so somebody gonna start talking about serial killer? Or...
Yeah, well, Hayden has fucking... Hayden, how many people do you want to talk about?
I got 3 lined up, but someone else should go first because mine starts light and then it gets dark real fast.
Well, I don't think Morgan has any, and I don't think Trevor has any.
I have one, but it's not very long. And
You have
it's
one?
kind of fucked
Okay,
up,
well
dude.
let's
It's fucked
let
up?
Morgan say something then, and just to kind of see what his take is.
Yeah,
on
Morgan, break the
Yeah,
ice,
Morgan.
buddy.
What?
Fuck,
What?
you're not even paying
Attitude.
attention.
Can you believe this, bitch?
You got a serial killer you want to talk about before we get into things?
Because Hayden's is gonna bring the fucking mood down real quick.
Mine's gonna bring the house.
It is graphic.
I didn't really prepare anything because I worked all day.
Okay, fine. I'll fucking go first.
All right, Hayden.
All right.
All right, you.
Mine's
go
only like 2 paragraphs long.
All right. What's his name? What did he do? What's his weenie size?
Gilbert Paul Jordan. His nickname was the Boozing Barber. Jordan was born in 1931, but he had a unique murder method. He used alcohol to kill his victims. I thought this was suitable for me. Let me just crack a beer.
I knew it. I knew that's why you picked. That's why I laughed.
I'm gonna have a little sip here. Gonna
Pour it out for the homies. I didn't hear the fucking.
offer. Oh, I will, because you were talking.
We'll get another one.
Anyway, operating in the Vancouver area from 1965 to 2004. Jordan would go to bars and pick up Aboriginal women and bring them back to his hotel room.
Why are you smiling, you sick fuck?
There's one part that's fucked up.
Okay.
You would, you're making me laugh.
Trevor's not funny.
Seriously. They would offer, or he would offer them money for sex and proceed to drink extreme levels of alcohol. It is said that he drank at least 50 ounces of alcohol per day. I don't know how much that's equal to in beer or whatever, but.
Well, how much is like like what are you drinking right now?
I'm drinking a can of Bud Light. It's does it have milliliters on here somewhere?
Well, yeah, it says milliliters, not ounces.
355 milliliters, whatever that is. Anyway, so he's able to drink to the point where his victims passed out, and he's said to have then poured alcohol down their throats, and they would die of alcohol poisoning. The police were unable to fully identify this as murder, so until the time Jordan was charged for manslaughter, the case in 1988, he served 6 years in prison and then was released. While found on conditional release, he was abstained from alcohol, and he had to avoid using alcohol. But the reason he got caught was because he used a tree branch to rape one of his victims.
Jesus!
Tanner, why'd you make me laugh?
I didn't do anything!
Somebody laughed. Somebody
didn't do
chuckled.
anything.
You fucking
It's
laughed.
like a messed up Lord of the Rings.
It's the voices.
tree is going off.
It's why are we laughing? That's fucked up.
I hear somebody. That's the
Trevor just cracked.
That's
Someone goes.
that's pretty much all it has.
Do a weapon, Call of Duty, a tree branch.
See when you say that, that just brings me back to Evil Dead, when the trees were getting all funky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that sounds like a typical Sulika weekend, though. To be honest,
What part, Hayden?
all of it.
Jesus Christ.
See, I don't get why it says. So he was in Vancouver. He got charged in 1988, but then he was released in 2004, or no? Because it said 6 years. That's it. But it said he operated until 2004.
This town does suck, but anyway, where was he? Where was this? Where did this
No,
happen?
it was just that it happened in Vancouver. That's what. I tried to find Canadian serial
Homegrown
killers, so it
mystery.
was more spooky.
Yeah, I gotta represent.
I just want to go on the record and say I was muted the whole time all that laughing was going on.
Because you were laughing. I don't even know why you're here.
I was not laughing.
Oh shit. Anything else you want to add about him? Like what? How many people did he end up axing?
It only and it like axed like 15 or not 5 people actually. It says.
So I pulled a big brain move and I pulled up Google, and your can of beer is 12 ounces. Or yeah, 12 ounces. So
Then that guy doesn't drink fuck all. I guess it's alcohol he drinks though. He's probably not drinking beers.
Trevor's like, fuck, I brushed my teeth with what he drinks.
Trevor dips his toothbrush in beer before he goes to brush his teeth.
nice and fresh. Pretty good.
Oh,
Jack Daniels mouthwash.
It's hot.
I got another one, but I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know? You trust you have you heard Hayden's? He gave me a little briefing on it.
Have you not read what I posted a little bit earlier about one of mine? Mine's pretty dark.
It's not okay.
This one, this guy's name is Peter Woodcock.
Peter.
All right.
Okay. Peter Woodcock, born in 1939, he changed his name to David Michael Kruger while in prison.
I thought that was it.
No.
It's like a
Woodcock
Freddy
was
Krueger wanted.
Woodcock was born to a 17-year-old woman and given up for adoption almost immediately. He went from home to home, finally settling in at age 3. He was poorly adjusted in school and made no friends.
Tanner.
Hey man, what the fuck?
His foster parents attempted analysis and was put into a special school, and he generally was quiet and appeared to be obsessive over his foster mother. By age 16, he had a condition which made him, when he drove his bike around the city of Toronto, he thought he had a 500-person army of boys with him.
Can I stop you
don't
right there?
understand.
Was this like a classic stepmom action right going on here?
Apparently, he's obsessed with his foster mom. I don't know.
God damn.
But you don't comment on the fact that he thinks he has 500 invisible
Yeah,
boys on
man.
bikes riding behind
That's
him.
also a
He's
little
got
weird,
some
but
serious issues there.
that
Thought
dude
that-
needs to
that
make
part.
that dude needs to make some friends. Not the invisible one.
He sexually assaulted 3 children aged 4 to 9 in the most horrific act. He molested a 4-year-old girl using, what does that say? A pipe or a pipe to. That's I'm not. That's too.
That's too. Oh, buddy, you're in for a real
You're
treat.
you're in for a treat then,
It
Trevor.
just
if you
says
can't
he
read
used
that.
it. It just says he used the pipe on her sexual organs and stuff. Which
Oh fuck.
That's
Would-
nothing. Just wait.
Woodcock would be eventually found guilty by reason of insanity in 1957. He was sent for treatment, including LSD therapy, for years. Doctors tried to work with him and improve his condition, but this was all abandoned when he believed that an alien-led gang known as the Brotherhood would help him if he killed a former inmate.
What the
Oh
hell?
my-
What?
An alien.
On a weekend pass, he murdered and sodomized the man before turning himself back in.
Jesus Christ.
That's it. That's all it says. That's fucked up.
It's okay. There's gonna be a
Sodomy,
big old
that's,
disclaimer before we started talking about these anyway.
Sodomy. That's right up Morgan's alley. Morgan, got anything to say about that? It stays
Morgan's
muted,
gonna be like, no
it's
comment. Back to mute. Did you say, oh, that's fucked up?
Yeah,
That's all you have to say.
that's fucked.
You gotta contribute a little bit here, man. Come
You're
on.
quiet too.
I'm,
Don't make me
I'm
come over
trying
there.
trying not to get flagged.
How you gonna get flagged? This isn't on.
Are you recording too?
No,
What the fuck are you getting flagged for?
I'm just gonna get you to send me the link after, and I'll upload it.
The fuck?
Send him the link.
This bitch. Can't believe this guy.
He's gonna upload a link of him not even talking, everyone else talking.
It's like his streams.
I'm listening.
But
Wow.
That's funny.
Wait, what was that guy? What was that guy called, Trevor?
Peter Woodcock.
Peter.
You know, both of his names have something to do with Wiener. Peter, Wood, and Dog.
Peter's another name for wiener.
Peter,
Ha.
another name for Wiener.
Damn, dude. Well, Hayden, you have 3 of them. Do you wanna share with the class next, since you have
I
a
just
few of
don't
them?
get why the fuck this guy. Okay, first of all, he thought 500 fucking invisible boys were on bikes, and then he thought the aliens. Oh, fuck, I don't
DMX
know.
Army. No.
BMX what?
DMX Army.
Yeah, BMX Army.
Okay, let's let Hayden.
Hayden, you could try and lighten the mood, but that ain't gonna fucking happen.
All right, hold on here. Let me just pull up my stuff here. I have a lot of information, so I'm not gonna go into some of the things. We'll start light though.
How light are we
let's go
talking? Are we talking like?
I mean, I just said stuff about tree branches and stuff, so.
Okay, light. I'm talking about this first guy will have convicted of 13 counts of murder, 5 counts of attempted murder, and 11 counts of sexual assault.
Are all of our killers
And
having to do with
14
sexual
counts
assault?
of burglary. And he was sentenced to 19 death sentences.
19 death sentences.
Is that
19.
Picton?
No, it's not Picton. He's fairly well known as the Night Stalker, otherwise known as Rick Ramirez.
Oh God.
Oh, I've heard of him.
You've heard of him?
I've heard of him. I learned about
Goes
him in my
by
civics
either-
class.
Goes by the Night Stalker, the walk-in killer, or the Valley Intruder. I got
Mhm.
his height here. He's 6'1". He was married to Doreen Leroy.
Wait, what does that mean? He's 6'1"?
And
Is he just 1 6 foot?
He was active between April 10th, 1984 and August 24th, 1985. So between those dates, and everything took place in California. He was arrested on August 31st, 1985 and was put in prison at the San Quentin State Prison.
That's it.
I got a boy that.
Hold on.
What?
I got a boy on the inside there.
What's he in for?
All right, so we'll
Oh,
skip a
the
little
guy he's
bit
talking
of this
about.
here.
Oh shit!
So he used a variety of weapons, including handguns, knives, a machete, a tire iron, and a hammer. He claimed to be a Satanist. He never
Fucking poser.
expressed any remorse for his crimes.
He even left.
The judge who upheld Ramirez's 19 death sentences remarked that his deeds exhibited cruelty, callousness, and viciousness beyond any human understanding. Ramirez died of complications from B-cell lymphoma while awaiting execution on California's death row.
Mm.
So he didn't even get dead.
He didn't even get dead.
How far do you want me to go into his background? Like, you
Well-
want me to talk about his childhood?
Well, I've heard of him before. I've learned about. He's one fucked up looking dude, isn't he? He's the Night
kinda
Stalker,
handsome,
right?
actually.
Wait, what?
Yeah, he's kind of handsome.
The Night Stalker.
He's
I
not bad.
mean, Hayden, the picture I'm looking at, he looks like a vampire.
Black hair.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's handsome like a Twilight handsome, you know?
this is one ugly dude.
Yeah, he's handsome. He's handsome.
Hold on. I'm gonna put it in the Discord, and you can tell me if he's handsome, okay?
I know the picture, man. I know
This
the
one?
picture. Not that picture.
That's him.
Yeah, I know, but not that picture.
What do you mean not that picture?
That's not the picture I'm looking at.
Well, that's the picture I'm looking at, and that's one fucked up looking picture.
Yeah, but he was caught crazy. I'm talking about kind of like just before.
Looks
No.
like my uncle after a bottle of Kelly's.
Okay, let's see here. All right, I'll go into his. I'll
That
read
one.
a little bit of this here. I got about
That
three.
one.
I got about 3 paragraphs about his background.
Ah.
We'll get into his murder.
Okay.
All right, so a 12-year-old Richard, or Richie as he was known to his family, was strongly influenced by his older cousin Miguel Ramirez, a decorated U.S. Army Green Beret. Fuck us up. A combat veteran who often boasted of his gruesome exploits during the Vietnam War. He shared Polaroid photos of his victims, including Vietnamese women who he had raped. In some of the photos, Mike posed with severed head of a woman he had abused. Ramirez, who had begun smoking marijuana at the age of 10, bonded with Mike over joints and gory war stories. That's pretty young.
Same.
What?
Same.
Sure was like, oh, Vietnam flashbacks.
Mike taught his young cousin some of his military skills, such as killing with stealth. Around this time, Ramirez began to seek escape from his father's violent temper by sleeping in a local cemetery. That's just fucked up. Ramirez was present on May 4th, 1973, when his cousin Mike fatally shot his wife, Jessie, in the face with a .38 caliber revolver. Oh fuck. During a domestic argument after the shooting, Ramirez became sullen and withdrawn from his family and peers. Later that year, he moved in with his older sister Ruth and her husband Roberto, an obsessive peeping Tom who took Richie along on his nocturnal exploits. Ramirez, who also began using LSD and cultivated an interest in Satanism. Mike was found not guilty of Jesse's murder by reason of insanity and was released in 1977 after 4 years of incarceration at the Texas State Mental Hospital. His influence over Ramirez continued. The adolescent Ramirez began to meld his burgeoning sexual fantasies with violence, including bondage and rape. While still in school, he took a job at a local Holiday Inn where he used his passkey to rob sleeping patrons. His employment ended abruptly after a hotel guest returned to his room to find Ramirez attempting to rape his wife. Although the husband beat Ramirez senseless at the scene, criminal charges were dropped when the couple who lived out of state declined to return to testify against him. Wow.
I don't know about that part.
That's fucked up.
All right, let's get into some of the murders here. On April 10th, 1984, Ramirez murdered 9 in the basement of a hotel where he was living. In the Tenderloin district of San Francisco, he raped and beat the girl before stabbing her to death and hid her body from a pipe. This is Ramirez's first known killing, was not initially identified as being connected to the subsequent crime spree. In 2009, Ramirez's DNA was matched to a sample obtained at the crime. In 2016, officials disclosed evidence of a second suspect identified through DNA sample retrieved from the scene, who is believed to have been present at Luang's murder. Authorities have not publicly identified the suspect, described as being a juvenile at the time, and have not brought charges due to the lack of evidence. So that was before he became really the Night Stalker. So here is a few of his Night Stalker crimes. June 28th, 1984, 79-year-old Janine Vincow was brutally murdered in her apartment in Glassell Park, Los Angeles. She had been stabbed repeatedly while asleep in her bed, and her throat slashed so deeply that she was nearly decapitated. Ramirez's fingerprints was found on a mesh screen he removed to gain access through an open window. March 17th, 1985, Ramirez attacked 22-year-old Maria Hernandez outside her home in Rosemead, California, shooting her in the face with a .22 caliber handgun after she pulled into her garage. She survived when the bullet ricocheted off the keys she held in her hands. As she lifted to protect herself, inside the house was her roommate, Dale Yoshi Uzaki, 34, who heard the gunshot and ducked behind a counter. When she saw Ramirez enter the kitchen, when she raised her head, he shot her once in the forehead. Within an hour of Rosemead's home invasion, Ramirez pulled 30-year-old Sicklyriddler Veronica Yu. Why couldn't they just say that? I'm butchering the name.
Yeah, you also
Out
sound
of
like a
her
robot
car.
too.
Do I still sound like a robot?
Well, you keep cutting out like every few words. So when you said 9 earlier, just said he killed 9, and that's it.
Said 9.
Okay. 79-year-old.
Oh.
That was 79-year-old. Pulled Veronica Yu out of her car in Monterey Park, California. Shot twice with a .22 caliber handgun and fled. She was pronounced dead upon arrival at the hospital. The two murders and attempted murder in a single day attracted extensive coverage from news media, who dubbed the curly-haired attacker with bulging eyes and wide-spaced rotting teeth the walk-in killer and the valley intruder. On March 27th, 1985, Ramirez entered a home that he had burglarized a year earlier in Whittier, California at approximately 2 a.m. and killed the sleeping Vincent Charles Zazara, age 64, with a gunshot to his head from a .22 caliber handgun. Zazara's wife Maxine Levine Zazara, age 44, was awakened by the gunshot, and Ramirez beat her and bound her hands, while demanding to know where her valuables were. While he ransacked the room, Maxine escaped her bonds and retrieved a shotgun from under their bed, which loaded. The infuriated Ramirez shot her 3 times with a .22 caliber, then fetched a large carving knife from the kitchen. He mutilated her body by stabbing her several times, then gouged out her eyes and placed them in a jewelry box, which took with him. He took the eyes with him. The autopsy determined that the mutilations were post-mortem. Ramirez left footprints on a pair of Avia sneakers in the flower beds, which the police photographed and cast. This was virtually the only evidence that the police had at the time. Bullets found at the scene were matched to those found at previous attacks, and the police realized a serial killer was at large. Vincent and Maxine's bodies were discovered by their son Peter. Oof. All right, May 14th, 1985. Ramirez returned to Monterey Park and entered the home of Ildoy, 66, and his disabled wife, Lillian, 56. Surprising Doy in his bedroom, shot him in the face with a .22 semi-automatic pistol, and Doy went for his own handgun. After beating the mortally wounded man into unconsciousness, Ramirez entered Lily's bedroom, bound her with thumb cuffs, then raped her after he had ransacked the home for valuables. Doy died of his injuries while in the hospital.
Wow.
You want me to go through all of these?
No,
Like,
not
there's a lot.
like not
more.
all of
No,
the
you don't have to
no,
go
not
through
all the
all of
murders.
these.
I'm surprised you
Alright,
kept going.
Okay,
Can I just say something to lighten the mood here?
yeah.
When we were talking, I put Pokemon Go and I caught a shiny, so that's
Oh, very nice. I'll do the little paragraph here to sum it up. So Ramirez was 24 years old when he began his serial murders. You can't see. You can post that mugshot there, Tanner, because that's his mugshot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this mugshot of Ramirez was taken on December 12th, 1984, after an arrest for car theft that already led to his apprehension. On August 30th, 1985, Ramirez took a bus to Tucson, Arizona to visit his brother, unaware that he had become the lead story in virtually every major news program across California. After failing to meet his brother, he returned to Los Angeles early in the morning of August 31st. He walked past police officers who were staking out the bus terminal in hopes of catching the killer, should he attempt to flee on an outbound bus to a convenience store in East Los Angeles. After noticing a group of elderly Mexican women fearfully identifying him as El Matador, or the killer, Ramirez saw his face on the front pages of the newspaper racks and fled the store. In a panic, after running across the Santa Ana freeway, he attempted to carjack a woman but was chased away by bystanders who pursued him. After hopping over several fences and attempting 2 more carjackings, he was eventually subdued by a group of residents, one of whom had struck him over the head with a metal bar in the pursuit. The group held Ramirez down and relentlessly beat him up until the police arrived and took him into custody.
God
The
damn.
fuck?
So that's basically how he was captured.
When did he die?
He died. Let me go back up to the top of my pages here.
He died in like the 80s, I'm pretty sure. Oh, he died in 2013.
Died June 7th, 2013 at the age of 53.
See?
It took him that long to get executed? Jeez.
He didn't get executed. He died of cancer.
No, I know, but like it took him that long. Like,
To get got?
you know what I mean?
There's a big weight on death row. There's a big weight. Yeah, Morgan, that picture you put there, that's more of
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what gets Hayden rocks off.
That's what makes me harder than a tic tac.
Nice.
Alright, Tanner, you want to do yours before I go into darker stuff?
Which one are you doing next? The one you told me or the different one?
I'm gonna save the really dark one for the end, I think.
So that's
I'll
the
have
one
to
you
fucking
told
put
me?
it- yeah, because
Okay.
we'll have to put a disclaimer before that too, I think.
Another one?
Well, just because that's some pretty messed up shit.
True. Oops. Well, the one I had, I don't know if it's... There's like not much info on the fucker. At all. But I picked them because I thought the name is funny. Morgan, I think you get a kick out of this. You ready?
Yeah.
Trevor, you ready?
Yeah.
Alright, mine's name is Jack the Stripper. Now I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking. It's like, whoa, this isn't real. That's just a typo. Nope. Apparently it's a copycat. Dun dun dun.
Nice.
Yeah. God damn it. Anywho. So he pretty much did like everything Jack the Ripper did. He would like pretty much only kill prostitutes. But he was active from when was it? Between the late 1950s to the early 60s. And he killed how many people? By the way, this is all off Wikipedia, so I don't even know if this is true. But he was another name for it is the Hammersmith nude murders. See, the more I read on this, the more I fucking don't believe it.
Some stuff is too unbelievable.
Because
to be
there's like
real.
not much stuff here. Although this is only Wikipedia.
Just read it and let the viewers decide. Let them vote or something. I don't know.
Because most of the stuff here is all about his victims. I don't fucking want those. Hang on. Hold on. I'll cut out all this silence. Hold on.
That Jack the Stripper shit was actually real.
It was?
Yeah.
Okay, just checking. He's an Uggo.
Jack
Most
the
of them
Stripper.
are.
Yeah, they are pretty. They're pretty, not pretty. What the fuck? I had this whole thing here, now it's gone. Anyways, okay. I got stuff now. In the early hours of June 17th, 1959, two police officers walking their beat in the suburbs of London made a gruesome discovery. There in a park lay the body of a young woman tucked inside a patch of tall grass. The woman had been strangled and her clothes had been ripped open, exposing her breasts, and her underwear and shoes were missing. Not fucking cool. The police immediately began asking the public if they knew anything about the young victim, soon identified as Elizabeth Figg, who had been working in the area as a prostitute. The owner of a nearby pub told police that he had seen a pair of headlights early in the morning and heard a woman scream just after the lights cut off. But otherwise, the police had no leads. The investigation quickly went cold, and eventually the police gave up hope of solving the mystery of Figg's murder. They dismissed the case as that of another unlucky prostitute who fell prey to a violent John. That's fucked up. But while the community settled back into its normal routine, the killer remained free, and he would strike again. In late 1963, police discovered the body of Gwyneth Reese in a dump less than a mile from the park where Figg's body had been found. Like Figg, Reese was stripped of her clothes except for a single stocking. Unlike Figg, Reese had been decapitated with a shovel. The similar location and the state of the body was the first signal to police that the two murders might be connected. So am I reading like all of his murders? He killed like fucking, there's like 6 things here.
If there's a lot, you don't have to. You can just read a couple and
Yeah.
just say how many it was. And like with my other two, I don't have a lot of information on every murder that they did, but
Well,
it's so graphic. I don't need that much information.
but like, this is literally just a copycat.
Yeah,
Yeah,
basically.
he
He
From what I
fucking
hear,
did the
exactly
exact
the
same
same
shit
way.
as Jack the Ripper. But I don't think he killed as many people.
He did it. He did the exact same thing as Jack the Ripper. He just did it later.
yeah,
Like it was more recent.
Or left and came back.
It was just more recent. That's all.
it was. Yeah.
And he got caught. Jack the Ripper never got caught.
Excuse me.
Jack the Strip.
Yes, Trevor. Thanks for weighing in.
Yeah.
And he was like this guy. Like he was an iron worker and stuff too. So
See, where the fuck do you see this? I don't have any info on the dude, just his murders. This isn't cool.
he was a. Hold on.
I don't trust
Jack
the
the
Sun.
stripper who murdered 6 women in London was metal worker who slaughtered 2 young girls 43 years earlier. And his name was Harold Jones.
Yeah, okay, okay. Yeah, I got that. He's a small, fragile little dude.
I mean, you don't gotta be a big person to kill people.
Don't forget, a lot of them are like a lot of it started in childhood, right?
Look
Like
at Jeffrey Dahmer.
They get their jollies off of killing animals when they're younger, watching the life bleed out of their eyes. That's how it started. There's always those signs when they're young that they're going to grow up to be what they are.
Yeah, like look at Jeffrey Dahmer. Jeffrey Dahmer wasn't a big guy.
I like Bundy, really.
So I'm looking at
Bundy
the
wasn't a
Sun
big guy either.
an article on the Sun, and I see an ad, and it's 2 people fucking.
Well, that's lovely.
I see a lot of man ass.
Where'd they get a picture of mom and dad?
No. Anyways, I can't find much fucking things about this guy, except like, yeah, his name was Harold Jones. I didn't know he was a metal worker though. Wikipedia doesn't tell me these things. But who was it? Despite intense media interest, one of the biggest manhunts in Scotland Yard's history, the case is unsolved. Motherfucker, this is different, isn't it?
BuzzFeed unsolved.
All forensic evidence gathered at the time is believed to have been destroyed or lost.
I think you found something different.
Wikipedia is full of shit. And the Sun just gives me man ass.
It's funny.
So mine sucked.
Morgan, in this time that you've had, have you had time to look up one for you to talk about?
Now I'm disappointed.
I've been looking, yeah. I haven't really had any luck. They're all like, there's not a lot of information on a lot of them.
See, I thought it was going to be more info on the dude, but pretty much all you need to know. He's a copycat of Jack the Ripper, just not like as clean with his murders, I guess. Not as fucking precise,
I
I
mean,
guess. But this dude decapitated a person with a shovel. Jack the Ripper, like fucking, what, surgically, like,
Gutted people and
yeah.
dismembered.
I mean, I could do one that's like Canadian history.
Go for it.
Tanner, you know who Paul Bernardo is?
I've heard the name, but I don't think I do.
He's Canadian.
Trevor, he just said
Yeah.
he's Canadian. Silly,
Yeah, I know.
silly
about him.
Billy. Ah,
I thought he was gonna talk about Paul Bernardo. How come he muted himself?
the fuck?
Just a second, hold on.
Anyways, that's a perfect time for our sponsor,
Sorry
Raid.
for the
Just
walking
kidding.
around.
Tell
Yeah,
them feet 5 full thump
Paul
their ass over there.
Bernardo, also known as Paul Jason Teal, was born on August 27th, 1964 in Scarborough, Ontario, a suburb of Toronto. So,
Was that-
kind of close to you guys, hey?
I don't even know where Scarborough is. I don't even know this place.
Do you know where Toronto is? It's
Yeah.
a suburb of Toronto.
So, between 1987 and 1990, he committed 3 murders with his then wife, Carla Homolka. Among these victims was her younger sister, Tammy. He was nicknamed the schoolgirl killer because, like, obviously he preferred girls that were school age. Let's just see if I can find.
Are you using Wikipedia too?
Yeah. Well, like
Yeah,
I'm trying
Wikipedia
to, like,
don't tell you shit.
That's
I mean-
why you had to research a couple different things and put together. That's
Well,
what
I thought it
did.
was pretty straightforward.
Am I,
Like,
the,
it's just,
am I the only one that did that?
I'm pretty
I
sure
think
you're the
that's
only one that
fine.
did that. Like, I was expecting more, but apparently he's just, yeah, he's straight blatant copycat, just more sloppy. I knows how
Okay, you
use
know what?
kids like some sloppy.
Just go to Hayden and I'll be better prepared for the next one.
Alright.
So you're gonna break up the darkness, basically, is what you're saying?
No, just there's like not much to say about this guy. Like he killed 3 people. He liked girls that were like the school age.
Do you want me to give you a suggestion?
What's that?
Look for Ed Gain, aka Leatherface, or Eileen.
Oh, Eileen Warnos.
Yes,
Yeah, she
that'll be
was
a good
like
one.
she
We should
yeah.
include a female serial killer. You should look up.
Yeah,
her
we're all
for this.
inclusive here.
I can go.
Gotta include them female serial killers.
And so you want me to do one? Will you do that?
I mean, I have it right here.
I mean, who doesn't know like Ed Gein though?
You'd be surprised.
Yeah,
Really?
some people. Yeah.
Remember, I
Oh,
had an
like the-
argument with a kid in
Rock.
school where he was like, Leatherface was a real person. I'm like, no, he's based off a dude named Ed Gein. He was like getting a verbal argument with me, and I was like, dude, I pulled it up and I showed him, he right here, and he still didn't believe me.
There's people that don't even know Dahmer and Bundy.
My teacher looked at me like I'm fucking stupid.
It's just not a lot of people's forte, this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like some people, this just trips them out.
So do you want me to do one where you're looking it up, or are you pretty much ready to go? Or
Like I have her Wikipedia thing open, but like her Wikipedia is pretty accurate.
okay,
Is it
go
though?
for it.
So Eileen Carol Lee Warnos, born
Baskin.
Eileen Carol Pittman,
Baskin.
was born
Also-
on
Shut up, Trevor.
Can I just say something real quick
Dude,
on the topic? On the topic, this serial killer.
Yeah.
There is a documentary of her on Netflix. It's a must see. It's very good.
yeah.
so we're talking. I
Right.
just realized we're talking about serial killers here. And I know she's not one, but Carol Baskin did murder her
I'm
husband.
doing her next.
She gets her ass sued. She already got Joe sued. Now she's gonna come after us.
Bring it, bitch. Just kidding. I'm sorry. Please
She's
don't
right
sue me
between
or
the two
anything.
fucking eyes. Alright.
Who's
Continue,
snarling
Mark.
like a pig
Sorry.
over here? I'm here.
Are we done?
Yeah, I just wanted to throw a
That's what I was
documentary thing out there.
Okay, continue.
Netflix hit us up for a sponsorship.
Let me down. What is that
Are
sound?
you done, Tanner? Are you done?
What are you done? What is that sound?
I am trying to talk.
I get that, but there's a sound, and I don't know how to describe it. It's gone now. Continue.
Are you done?
I just said continue, motherfucker. Just go.
Thank you, sir. May I have another?
Silence, please. MoZone is speaking. Take it away, sir.
I'm gonna hate you.
Bring it.
Eileen Warnock was born on February 29th, 1956. She murdered 7 men in Florida in 1989 and 90 by shooting them at point blank range.
What is that?
She claimed that her victims had either raped or attempted to rape her while she was servicing them because she was a prostitute, and that all of the homicides were committed in self-defense. She was sentenced to death for 6 of the murders and was executed by lethal injection on October 9th, 2002. Let's see what else I can find in here. She used a high standard 22 caliber revolver. The 2003 film Monster chronicles her story from childhood until her first murder conviction. It stars
Oh, I've
Charlize
heard of that.
Theron
Okay.
as Warnos, a performance that earned her an Academy Award for Best Actress. I'm not going through her early life just because that's like a long.
Yeah, she's got a long
But
history.
basically, her parents were like, her like foster parents were alcoholics and stuff, and she engaged in sexual activities with her brother. And her
Incest?
grandfather sexually assaulted and beat her when she was a child.
Not okay.
And she became pregnant at age 14 after being raped by one of her grandfather's friends.
God damn.
So she killed Richard Charles Mallory on November 30th, 1989. He was an electronics store owner. Her first victim was a convicted rapist who she claimed to have killed in self-defense. She claimed she was sodomized and brutally beaten after being driven to an abandoned area for sexual requests. 2 days later, a Volusia County deputy sheriff found Mallory's abandoned vehicle. On December 13th, his body was found several miles away in a wooded area. He had been shot several times. 2 bullets to the left lung were found to have been the cause of death. And she killed David Andrew Spears, age 47, a construction worker. He was declared missing on May 19th, 1990. On June 1st, 1990, his naked body was found along US Route 19 in Florida. He had been shot 6 times by a 22 caliber pistol. And like the amount of times she shot her victims just went up like after that.
Are you
Like
saying
the
she
next
reloaded and then went again?
well, like she just unloaded into the guy.
Hmm.
And like the next guy that she killed, he'd been shot 9 times with a 20 like with the same 22 caliber pistol, and then she wrapped his body in an electric blanket.
God damn. What's an electric blanket?
Not sure. But the body was decomposing badly when they found it. She also pawned a gun identified as a belonging of the third victim.
No, it's pretty straightforward. It's a blanket. You fucking. The heated blanket. Nice job, Tanner. You fuck. What? That's like she has a movie.
These were
Yeah,
all like all,
she has a movie, right?
yeah,
You
like
said Monster.
all the people that
Monster.
she killed were like Johns, basically, like guys that pick up hookers.
Yeah.
And like she said that it was like all in self-defense, but like that's how she lured her victims in, was like faking, like pretending to be a prostitute and then just killing people.
That sounds like that movie was actually really good.
It is good.
Dark as fuck. But I like the dark stuff.
Let's see if I can find what her last statement was, because I remember vaguely that being
Did she go to prison?
pretty.
Yep.
Yeah, she went to prison. She was executed in 2002.
Oh damn. Wait, the movie came out like a few years after that, right?
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Scares here in our
Shit.
So she declined her last meal, which could have been anything under $20, and she opted for a cup of coffee instead. Her last
heard
words
that.
were, "Yes, I would just like to say I'm sailing with the Rock, and I'll be back like Independence Day with Jesus."
Interesting.
Indeed.
Yeah, she is fucked up.
I'd have to check out that movie.
It's a
The
good movie.
documentary is really good. Like she's like goes into like this whole big spiel about it being like a conspiracy theory and shit, and like the spies and
Yeah,
yeah, geez,
prison interviews and everything. Yeah.
yeah, she was messed up, and like she ends up yelling at the interviewer, and like she was like really messed up.
Are you playing with something? What is that sound?
There might be Discord notifications going off because
No,
one of
every
us-
time
It's like a
we
crackle.
talk, it sounds like someone's chewing a potato chip.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the chair in the back.
Oh,
Is there a ghost?
No, it's my chair because I got like a rocking chair from like a thrift store.
Sounds like it's a grapefruit technique at times.
I'm in your grandpa's coat from that thrift shop down the road.
Trevor, you've been silent for the last 10, 15 minutes. Anything
Minutes.
to add?
Okay, so this podcast is sponsored by Honey.
Oh, what? I wish, buddy. You want a free? Here, I'll give him a free ad right now. I used a code on when I was ordering me some crisp G Fuel, and I saved what, like $40? So I
Yeah.
pretty much, I was pretty much shipping covered. I only have to pay for the tub. So yeah, free advert.
Use code PERPHASHERPS.
It's true. It's true.
All right. So are we making like Captain Price and going dark here now, or what?
I mean, yeah, take the floor, man.
All right. So disclaimer goes here basically.
Wait, before we continue, I'm gonna need everyone to send me the links that they found their shit.
You have all of mine, correct?
No. Just so
right.
people can like go for, I don't know, maybe. Anyways, continue.
Well, we can at least put the wiki links in there.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we're not gonna go too dark. What's still pretty dark, I guess.
Dude, Charlize Theron looked like exactly like that in the movie. That's I've seen some parts of the movie, but like not the whole thing. That's fucking weird.
So this guy's real name is David Parker Ray, otherwise known as a toy box killer.
Here we go.
Oh, I know this guy.
Here we go.
He was somewhat well known, but brutality reasons and stuff kind of. What happened?
Who's that?
Clinton just joined and he left.
Hey, who's that?
Oh, it's Clinton joining and stuff. So he was kind of well known, but he's kind of less talked about because it's pretty gruesome stuff kind of thing. Born November 6, 1939 in Bentley, New Mexico. Died May 28, 2002 at the Lee County Correctional Facility in Hobbs, New Mexico. Cause of death, a heart attack. He was sentenced to 224 years in prison. The exact number of victims is unknown. He's expected to have murdered 60 plus people and 3 tortured. They don't know when he started his crimes, but they ended March 22nd, 1999.
No. Are you gonna read the letters?
No, the letters are for the next guy.
Oh, for the next guy. Okay, so it's the whole. Okay.
Yeah, this is a different guy. Most of the crimes were taking place in New Mexico and allegedly, and he was arrested March 22nd, 1999. All right, so David Parker Ray, also known as the Toy Box Killer, was an American kidnapper, torturer, rapist, and suspected serial killer. Although no bodies were found, he was accused by his accomplices of killing several people and suspected the police to have murdered as many as 60 women from Arizona and New Mexico while living in Elephant Butte, New Mexico, approximately 7 miles north of Truth or Consequence. He soundproofed a truck trailer that he called his toy box and equipped items for use for sexual torture. Ray was convicted of kidnapping and torture in 2001, for which he received a lengthy sentence, but he was never convicted of murder. He died of a heart attack about 1 year after his convictions in 2 cases, the second of which resulting in plea. So during his childhood, Ray and his younger sister Peggy lived with their disciplinarian grandfather. He was periodically visited by his violent alcoholic father, who would supply him with magazines depicting sadomasochism pornography. At Mountaineer High School in Mountaineer, New Mexico, he was also bullied by his peers for his shyness around girls. His sexual fantasies of raping, torturing, and even murdering women developed during his teenage years. Around this time, his sister discovered his sadomasochist drawings, as well as pornographic photographs of bondage acts. After completing high school, he received an honorable discharge from the U.S. Army, where his service also included work as a general mechanic. Ray was divorced 4 times and had 2 children, including his accomplice daughter, Jessie Ray, born Glenda J. Ray. Crimes. So Ray sexually tortured and presumably killed his victims using whips, chains, pulleys, straps, clamps, leg spreader bars, surgical blades, and saws. It is thought that he terrorized many women with these tools for many years while living in Mexico, with the help of accomplices, some of whom are alleged to have been several of the women he was dating. Inside the torture room, along with numerous sex toys, torture implements, and syringes, and detailed diagrams showing ways of inflicting pain, there was a homemade electrical generator which was used for torture. A mirror was mounted on the seat above the gynecology table, I'll call it, to which he strapped his victims. Ray also put his victims in wooden contraptions that bent them over and immobilized them. He had his dogs and sometimes other friends rape. He has been said to have wanted his victims to see everything he was doing to them. Ray often had an audio tape recording of his voice played for his victims whenever they regained consciousness. Oof, this is hard
That's
to read.
fucked up.
Goddamn.
Ray posed as an undercover police officer and approached a vigil in a parking lot. He told her she was under arrest for solicitation of prostitution and handcuffed her. He put her in his trailer and took her to after 3 days of captivity. After 3 days of captivity, Vigil escaped from his trailer at Elephant Butte on March 22nd, 1999. To escape, she waited until Ray went to work and then unlocked her chain. Ray's accomplice, Cindy Hendy, had left the keys on a nearby table before going to another room, where she participated in a telephone call. After Vigil got the keys, Hendy noticed Vigil's attempt to escape, and a fight ensued. During the struggle, Hendy broke a lamp on the victim's head. Vigil unlocked her chains and stabbed Hendy in the neck with an ice pick. Hendy fell to the floor and Vigil escaped. She fled while wearing only an iron slave collar and pouch. She ran down the road seeking help, which she got from a nearby homeowner who took her in, comforted her, and called the police. Her escape led officials to the trailer, decided capture of Ray and his accomplices. Police reported Ray and Hendy. Police stopped Ray and Hendy, and Ray was taken to jail. After the publicity surrounding the arrest, another victim, Angelica Montano, came forward. She told a similar story and said that she had reported the incident to police, but there had been no. Ray had a video of another victim, Kelly Garrett, also called Kelly Van Cleve, which dated from 1996. Garrett ultimately was found in Colorado alive after police identified a tattoo on her ankle. She later testified that she had gotten into a fight with her husband and decided to spend the night playing pool with friends. On July 24th, 1996, Ray's daughter, Jessie, who knew Garrett, took her to the Blue Water Saloon in New Mexico and drugged the beer she was drinking. Garrett had walked to the parking lot when she suffered a blow from behind, which knocked her unconscious. Ray then took her to his trailer, attached a dog collar and leash to her neck. Garrett awoke but blacked out several times during 2 days of torture and drugs. During this time, Ray noticed that she was breathing heavily and slashed her throat open. Thinking that he had killed her, Ray dumped her beside a road near Kabbalah. She was later treated for her injuries at a local clinic. Her husband nor the police believed her story. Her husband believed she was cheating on him the night she was attacked. He sued for divorce, and Garrett moved to Colorado. She was later interviewed on cold case files of her ordeal. 2 other accomplices were uncovered by the investigation: Glenda Jean, Ray's daughter, and Dennis Yancey. Yancey admitted to strangling a former girlfriend, of whom Mary Parker, after Ray had kidnapped and tortured her. Yancey was convicted of second-degree murder and conspiracy to commit first-degree murder and was sentenced to 15 years. After that murder, Ray allegedly admitted to having an accomplice named Billy Bowers, a previous business partner whom Ray also murdered. The FBI sent 100 agents to examine Ray's property and surroundings, but no identifiable human remains were found. To prevent women from reporting crimes, Ray had drugged them with agents to induce amnesia. He made a tape recording of himself telling one woman that the drugs were sodium, fentanyl, and phenobarbital. One woman remained certain that her recollections of the abuse were anything but nightmares until she was contacted by the FBI. After questioning, she came to remember her mistreatment in increasingly graphic detail. I'll kind of skip that trial there. That's the gist of it, really. They went into more stuff at the trial, but I don't have all.
That's fucked up.
Okay, here we go. Ray agreed to a plea bargain when she was sentenced in 2001, 224 years in prison for numerous offenses in abduction and sexual torture of 3 young women at his Elephant Butte Lake. Her daughter, Glenda Ray, was also tried on these charges of kidnapping. She was sentenced to 2.5 years in prison with an additional 5 years to be served on probation. So yeah, he was never officially charged with murder.
It's so fucked up.
Yeah, that's really fucked up.
Okay. But
So
I'm pretty
beyond
sure his
fucked up.
next one is way worse than this one.
The next one is all worse, and I have letters to the victims. So I don't know if you want to get into something a little bit lighter before we go supernova dark.
Nah, dude, we're in the Marianas Trench now. You can't go back.
All right.
Now, are you gonna just read the letters, or what do you?
I'm gonna give a little bit of him first, I guess, and then I'll read the letters.
Okay.
Because yeah, the letters are pretty. Because I got a little bit of back information.
How many
It's not
letters are you
Dennis
reading?
Ray,
Just 2?
isn't it?
What?
I have 2 that I can read. So I'll get into the letters, but there is actually 46 letters
Goddamn.
plus his statement, but only 2 letters have been publicly released. And I have those 2 letters.
Okay.
So this guy name is Albert Fish,
Oh yeah, okay, I know this guy.
otherwise known as the Gray Man. Born May 19th, 1870 in Washington, D.C. Died January 1936 at the Sing Sing Correctional Facility in Osing, New York. Executed by the electric chair.
Sing Sing.
Yeah, that's
Sing
the
Sing
prison.
prison. It was a pretty hardcore prison back in
I'm
the
pretty
day.
sure Charlie Manson was held there for a little bit.
Who calls him Charlie Manson?
So basically the motivations for his crime were sexual gratification, convicted of murder, kidnapping, grand larceny, theft. So he had 3 confirmed victims, but he's claiming responsibility for over 100 victims. His span of crimes are from 1924 to 1932 in the state of New York, and he was arrested December 13, 1934. So because I have the letters, I'm not really going to get into too much of this. as far as his background really goes.
I'm pretty sure the letters like sum it up.
I got everything, like childhood to how it all escalated. Like I got everything, so people can look that up if they want to. So we'll start with his early adulthood and criminal history, I guess. We'll kind of skip the childhood and stuff.
Sure.
So by 1890, Fish had arrived in New York City, and he said that he had a point in becoming a prostitute and began raping young boys. So as soon as he arrived in New York, he decided to take up prostitution, but he was also raping young boys in the process. In 1898, his mother arranged a marriage with Anna Mary Hoffman, who was 9 years his junior. They had 6 children: Albert, Anna, Gertrude, Eugene, Henry Fish. Throughout 1898, Fish worked as a house painter. He said he continued molesting children, mostly boys younger than the age of 6. He later recounted an incident in which a male lover took him to a waxworks museum where Fish was fascinated by the bisection of a penis. After that, he became obsessed with sexual mutilation. In 1903, he was arrested for grand larceny, convicted and incarcerated in Singapore. So I'm gonna just say a little sentence right here, but they'll have to
Wait.
actually go to this to see it.
Wait,
Okay,
what?
Morgan
go ahead.
just choke on something one second.
No, that's his mic been the entire time.
That's his mic, yeah.
I just hear-
So they can see this picture if they follow the link. They can see this picture, but there's an X-ray of his pelvis. It was introduced as evidence in his trial, and it shows more than 24 self-embedded needles in his pelvis.
God damn.
Yeah. So around 1910, while he was working in Wilmington, Delaware, Fish met a 19-year-old man named Thomas Keaton. He took Keaton to where he was staying, and the two began a sadomasochist relationship. It was unclear whether or not Fish forced Keaton to do these things, but in his confession, he implies that the man was intellectually disabled. After 10 days, Fish took Keaton to an old farmhouse where he began to torture him. The torture took place over 2 weeks. Fish eventually tied Keaton up and cut off half of his penis. And this is quotes. This is what he says: "I shall never forget this scream or the look he gave me." That's kind of fucked up. Fish later recalled he originally intended to kill Keaton, cut up his body, and take it home, but he feared the hot weather would draw attention to him. Instead, Fish poured peroxide over the wound, wrapped it in a Vaseline-covered handkerchief, left $10 bill, kissed Keaton goodbye, and left. And then he goes on to say, "I took the first train I could get back home. Never heard of what became of him or tried to find out." Those are his own words. Okay, this is just a kind of some self-harm he did,
That's
kind of
fucked
explained
up.
in the X-ray. So I'll read this little bit here, and then I'll jump into the first letter. Kind of explains the first letter. So on May 25th, 1928, Fish saw a classified ad in the Sunday edition of the New York World that read, "Young man 18 wishes position in country. Edward Budd, 406." I won't even say the whole address. On May 28th, Fish, then 58 years old, visited the Budd family in Manhattan under the pretense of hiring Edward. He later confessed that he planned to tie Edward up, mutilate him, and leave him bleed to death. Fish introduced himself as Frank Howard, a former farmer in Dale, New York. He promised to hire Bud and his friend Willie and said would send for them in a few days. Fish failed to show up, but he sent a telegram to the Bud family apologizing and set a later date. When Fish returned, he met Edward's younger sister, Grace Budd. He apparently changed his intended victim from Edward to Grace and quickly made up a story about having to attend his niece's birthday party. He convinced the parents, I won't say the parents' name, to let Grace accompany him to the party that evening. Grace had a young sister, Beatrice. two older brothers, Edward and George, and a younger brother, Bud. Grace left with fish that day, but never returned. The police arrested 66-year-old Superintendent Charles Edward Pope on September 5th, 1930, as a suspect in Grace's disappearance, accused by Pope's estranged wife. He spent 108 days in jail between his arrest and trial on December 22nd, 1930, where he was found not guilty. Okay, this is where it's going to get pretty dark here. This is the first letter he wrote. This is the mother of that little girl I just described. My dear Mrs. Budd, in 1984, a friend of mine shipped deckhand on the steamer Tacoma, Captain John Davies. They sailed from San Francisco to Hong Kong, China. On arriving there, he had two others. He and two others went ashore and got drunk. When they returned, the boat was gone. At the time, there was a famine in China. Meat of any kind was from $1 to $3 a pound. So great was the suffering among the very poor, and all the children under 12 were sold to the butchers to be cut and sold for food in order to keep others from starving. A boy or girl under 14 was not safe in the street. You could not go into any shop and ask for steak chops or stew meat. Part of the naked body of a boy or girl will be brought in and out, just what you wanted cut from it. A boy or girl's behind, which is one of the sweetest parts of the body, and is sold as veal cutlet brought to the highest price. John stayed there so long as he acquired a taste for human flesh. On his return to New York, he stole two boys, 1 7, 1 11. He took them to his home and stripped them naked, tied them into a closet, and hurt everything they had on. Several times every day and night he spanked them, tortured them, to make their meat good and tender. First, he killed the 11-year-old boy because he had the fattest ass of
What?
of course.
I told you this
Yeah,
shit gets fucking. I told you this shit gets bad.
and the
Ew.
most meat on it. Every part of his body was cooked and eaten except his head. Except his head was in guts. He was roasted in the oven, in brackets, all of his ass boiled, broiled, fried, and stewed. The little boy was next. Went the same way. At that time, I was living to the address. He told me so often how good human flesh made up my mind to taste. I made up my mind to taste it. On Sunday, June the 3rd, 1928, I called you at their address. Brought you pot cheese, strawberries. We had lunch. Grace sat in my lap. I made up my mind to eat her on the pretense of taking her to a party. You said yes, she could go. I took her to an empty house in Westchester I had already picked out. When we got there, I told her to remain outside. She picked wildflowers. I went upstairs and stripped all my clothes off. I knew if I did not, I would not get her blood off. When all was ready, I went to the window and then I hid in a closet until she was in the room. When she saw me all naked, she began to cry and tried to run downstairs. I grabbed her, and she said she would tell her mama. First, I stripped her naked. How she did kick, bite, and scratch. I choked her to death, then cut her in small pieces so I could take my meat to my rooms, cook, and eat it. How sweet and tender her little ass was roasted in the oven.
Jesus Christ.
It took me 9 days to eat her entire body. I did not fuck her, though. I could have. Sick, had I wished. She died a virgin. That was the letter that he wrote.
What
That's
the
disgusting.
So get this. Police
That is
investigated the letter. The part of the letter concerning the murder of Grace, however, was found to be accurate in its depiction of her kidnapping and subsequent events, although it was impossible to confirm whether or not fish had actually parts of her body. All right. So I have one more letter here. Just gotta find it. Okay. So that first letter was very publicly known. Um, there are many other letters that his attorney has, and this is a letter um, that he had wrote to his attorney. Do you want me to talk about the boy first and then get into the letter?
Sure.
All right. So this is kind of on February 11th, 27. 3-year-old
Mm.
Billy Beat and his 12-year-old brother were playing in the apartment hallway in Brooklyn with 4-year-old Billy Gaffney. When the 12-year-old left for his apartment, both younger boys disappeared. Beaton was found later on the roof. When asked what happened to Gaffney, Beaton said the boogeyman took him. Gaffney's body was never recovered. Initially, serial killer Peter Kudenzowski was a suspect in the boys' murder. Then Joseph Meehan, a motorman on a Brooklyn trolley, saw a picture of Fish in a newspaper and identified him as the old man whom he saw that day. The old man had been trying quiet a little boy sitting with him on a trolley. The boy was not wearing a jacket, was crying for his mother, and was dragged by the man on and off of the trolley. Beaton's description of the boogeyman matched Fish. Police matched the description of the child to Gaff. Detectives of the Missing Persons Bureau were able to establish that Fish was employed as a house painter by a Brooklyn real estate company during that time, and that on that day of Guy's disappearance, he was working at a location just a few miles from where the boy was taken. Fish wrote the following in a letter to his attorney. All right. I brought him to Riker Avenue Dumps. There is a house that stands alone, not far from where I took him. I took the G boy there, stripped him naked, and tied his hands and feet, and gagged him with a piece of a dirty rag I picked up out of the dump. Then I burned his clothes, threw his shoes in the dump. Then I walked back and took the trolley to 59th Street at 2 a.m. and walked home from there. The next day, about 2 p.m., I took tools, a good heavy cat of nine tails whip, homemade, short handle, cut one of my belt in half, slit these halves into 6 strips about 8 inches long. I whipped his bare behind till the blood ran from his leg. I cut off his ears, nose, slit his mouth from ear to ear, gouged out his eyes. He was dead then. I stuck the knife in his belly and held my mouth to his body and drank his blood. I picked up 4 old potato sacks and gathered a pile of stone. Then I cut him up. I had a grip with me. I put his nose, ears, and a few slices of his belly in the grip. Then I cut him up through the middle of his body, just below the belly button. Then through his legs about 2 inches below his behind. I put this in my grip with a lot of paper. I cut off the head, feet, arms, hands, and the legs below the knee. This I put in sacks weighted with stone, tied the ends, and threw them into the pools of slimy water you will see all along the road going to North Beach. Water is 3 to 4 feet deep. They sank at once. I came home with my meat. I had the front of his body I liked the best. His monkey and peewees, and a nice little fat behind to roast in the oven. Eat. God. I didn't read this letter complete before. I made a stew out of his ears, nose, pieces of his face, and belly. I
That's
put
fucked up.
onions, carrots, turnips, celery, salt, and pepper. It was good. Then I split the cheeks of his behind open,
Oh my
cut off
god,
his
bro.
monkey and peewees, and washed
His monkey?
Uh,
His,
First, I
his
put
Peters.
stripes. First, I put strips of bacon on each cheek of his behind and put that in
okay.
the oven.
Okay, I
Then
can't do
Yeah,
no
I
more.
can't. I
onions.
don't
I
know.
can't
I
do
don't,
no
It's
what is
more.
almost done. It's almost finished. Then I picked 4 onions, And when the meat had roasted about a quarter of an hour, I poured about a pint of water over it for gravy and put in the onions. At frequent intervals, I basted it behind with a wooden spoon, so the meat would be nice and juicy. In about 2 hours, it's nice and brown, cooked through. I never ate any roast turkey that tasted half as good as his sweet, fat little behind did.
Oh my.
Ate every bit of meat in it in about 4 days. His little monkey was as sweet as a nut, but his peewees I could not chew. Threw them in the toilet.
Fucking hell.
I can't.
That's
Alright,
the letter
I can't.
that's the confession letter. One of the confession letters he wrote to.
Oh, this is like fucking
oh,
rated X, 14A, 18 plus.
I told you it got dark.
Damn.
you know what?
Mm.
Like, out of all of this, like, I just want to take a moment of silence for the victims of all these people that we
Yeah,
talked about.
Yeah, I
here.
think that's fucking
Yeah.
fair.
Yeah,
Like,
that's fair.
just I'm gonna mute my mic for about a minute, just because I think the victims and their families deserve a little bit of respect.
Okay, that's fair. You know the moment of silence is done when Morgan's fucking chewing on his chips.
I'm not even
Yeah.
chewing on anything.
What is that then?
I can't hear
This
what
whole
the fuck
podcast,
guys
you
are talking
motherfucking
about,
others
so
heard
I
us like.
don't know.
It's like a water
Might be
bottle
the air
crunching up or
conditioner.
something. What kind of air conditioning you have blowing out crumbs?
Ghetto one.
Nice.
Okay, I gotta go do something real quick. So,
I think that's it anyway. We've been going for like
Yeah, I think
an
that
hour.
was the last one.
Yeah, I kind of ended on a pretty dark note.
That was pretty dark right there, man.
next
I do just have
podcast's
one-
not gonna be
I
as
have-
dark.
No,
guys.
not not gonna be fucking dark. No.
I do have one thing to add though to that.
Hmm?
So that boy's mother of the letter I just read, she went and visited him in prison, and questioned him about her son's death for 2 hours. And when she left there, she was not convinced that he actually killed her.
What?
Wow.
Holy fuck.
Interesting.
And part of his excuses was when he was on trial, he was trying to plead insanity, saying that he was hearing voices from God telling him to kill children.
Fuck.
But he was
Alright, well, I
later
gotta-
found not sane and sentenced to the electric chair.
Good.
At 11:06 p.m., he was executed and pronounced dead.
At least that fucker's dead.
All right.
All right. Yeah, that's
be
that's
back.
it for this time.
Yeah.
See you
Go
next
ahead,
time on the
Christopher.
Total Fuckery Podcast. No
Yeah,
cucks, all
total
fucks.
fuckery. No cucks, all
Next
fucks.
time, I'll be
people.
sure to bring even more darkness to the world.
Nah, I think we're done with the darkness for a little while. All right.
Good
Yeah,
day.
that was a lot to take in.
I warned you it was gonna be dark.
Okay, I'll be back
I
on
warned
Discord.
See you
in a
next
little bit.
time.
This is the moment, tonight is the night. We'll fight till it's over.